Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to check out the Salomon Quest 04 Gore-Tex hiking boot. The Quest has been a favorite amongst backpackers especially, but also day hikers for quite a while now. The updated version boasts the same performance and comfort as its predecessor, but actually weighs half a pound less. This is actually our favorite hiking boot of the season for men, and we're going to get into that a little later. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, my name's Ben, and I'm part of the team here at the Adventure Junkies, where we help people like you choose the right gear to get outdoors. If you want to learn more, please visit our website at theadventurejunkies.com. Now, let's jump into what you're really here for. Let's talk about the Salomon Quest 04 Gore-Tex hiking boot. So the version of the Quest 4 that we tested retails for $230. That's definitely on the high side compared to some of the other boots that we've tested this season. But in this case, you really get what you pay for. They're available in sizes 7 through 14, and they are only available in a standard width. No wide sizes here. So you can pick them up in 3 different color combinations, although when I was looking, many are sold out. So you just have to pick up what you can find. So in terms of weight, the Quest 4, they look a little burly, they look a little heavy. And they are kind of a little heavy. So for those interested, I wear a size 13. I tested the size 13. On my scale, one shoe weighs 1 pound 9 ounces. That is also 713 grams per shoe. Look, I know that like when I say 1 pound 9 ounces or 713 grams, it's kind of hard to quantify what that feels like on your foot. So yeah, most people aren't gonna like know what that feels, but you definitely feel them on your foot. I wouldn't say they feel like bricks down there, but when I'm walking around, I definitely know that I have a burlier shoe on my foot. Now the Quest 4 is definitely a fully waterproof boot. Salomon uses a Gore-Tex waterproof bootie to keep your feet dry and allow a little airflow as well. The upper is constructed in part of full grain leather. That's the brown part all the way around. That's full grain leather, and that helps with waterproofing as well. So like I just mentioned, the upper is constructed with full grain leather and traditional stitching. And what traditional stitching does, I like to see that on a hiking boot because I think it's a little more durable. A lot of the new lightweight tech is to go with a welded construction rather than the traditional stitching. In this case, I appreciate the traditional stitching. So aside from the full grain leather here, we also have a synthetic, kind of a synthetic foam material, and that fills in the gaps between the full grain leather. Now you'll notice we have a pretty beefy toe cap here. This is definitely going to protect against toe jams, against rocks, things like that. So in terms of lacing, you have pretty traditional boot lacing here. It starts with a piece of webbing down near the toe, and then it transitions between the full grain leather and the metal eyelets all the way up. Then you have 3 lace hooks working up the ankle. I did find this, the lace hooks to be a little, not annoying to use, but a little troublesome to use. Once I got them laced up, I appreciated the lace hooks, but this one especially down here, it's just a little hard to thread the lace through if you're in a hurry. No big deal. Now because you don't have any additional eyelets or hooks up here, you might be a little limited if you're one that likes to use custom lacing techniques. So just something to be aware of. So we've got a pretty normal looking midsole that provides shock resistance, and you'll notice this white part here. This is something that's popping up on a lot of Salomon's boots as well as their shoes these days. This is called their 4D Advanced Chassis. And if you push on it, it feels like plastic. I mean, it really does. Usually a midsole, when you push on it, like a EVA compression midsole, they have a little cushion. This feels like hard plastic. And that is actually supposed to increase comfort as well as stability and support when carrying a heavy pack. So working down, let's take a look at the outsole here. So the outsole, like almost all of Salomon's lineup of shoes these days, it uses their Conta Grip rubber compound. And that just helps grip across a wide variety of surfaces and materials. All right, so lastly, in terms of construction, inside the boot, we've got an ortholite sock liner. Let's take a look. It's supposed to mold to your foot and add some cushion as well as breathability inside your boot. Now, you can remove this sock liner, obviously, if you prefer to replace it with your own insoles or maybe a custom orthotic. All right, everybody, so now that I've covered the basic construction of the boot, all things you can look up online, let's talk about performance. That's probably what you're here for. So I just mentioned the outsole of the boot. I mentioned that they use their Contagrip rubber compound, so let's talk about traction. The Quest tested pretty well across most surfaces that I tested them on. I tested them with a 20-pound pack, and I found it to be nice and grippy. Everything a backpacking boot really should be. It's summer here in the Rocky Mountains, and that means a lot of dry, loose dirt trails, especially on the descents. That loose dirt can really get you. I didn't have any problems, but we've also been having a lot of rain here this summer, which is great. I'll take the rain over the wildfires any day, but that means I've had some slippery wet trails as well as some snow-covered talus fields. Really, the boot performed well on across all aspects. I think it's really grippy. If you're doing a lot of scrambling and on like slabby stuff, you might want something where you can feel the rock a little better. But in terms of grip, top notch. For waterproofness, waterproofness has been as advertised for me. They stayed dry walking in wet grass, walking in wet mud, had them out in some spring rain showers, and the Gore-Tex has not failed me yet. So yeah, great waterproofness. And as advertised with the Gore-Tex liner. So the Quest was a little stiff right out of the box, but honestly, after about one 5-mile hike with a 20-pound pack, they're about as broken in as they're going to be. You know, full grain leather in the upper can take a little while to mold to the foot, but overall, they broke in pretty quickly. Not a huge break-in period. I love that. The sole is pretty firm. It doesn't have a ton of flex to it, but a little more flexy than some of the boots I've tested this season. I actually prefer a little flex in my hiking boot. I prefer to be able to feel the ground a little bit. So much appreciated. The upper on this is a little soft, and that did compromise stability just a little bit. I'd say this is a moderately stiff boot compared to others out there. Overall, I actually prefer this type of stiffness compared to something that's a little more stiff. Now, of course, the stiffness that this boot does have definitely lends itself to the stability that this boot offers when carrying weight. The Quest is pretty stable in all aspects, honestly. The boot performed well in uneven terrain, loose dirt. It's definitely stable enough for backpacking. That's pretty much what this boot is designed for. The advanced chassis, this plastic feeling bit that I mentioned earlier, I do feel like it actually helps. I noticed it with lateral stability, so stepping side to side, my foot really didn't slide around at all. It felt nice and locked in. I felt like I could feel the ground, and I like that. So the Quest is cut higher than most. This is technically in a mid-height category, but I find these to be a little taller, and that is going to help with backpacking as well, carrying weight and really lock in that ankle stability, which is another high point of this boot. So the Quest has plenty of support for backpacking long trips, especially this ankle bit. It's soft enough to be comfortable, but firm enough to really hold that ankle in place and offer the support that people need when they're carrying heavy loads, across uneven terrain especially. In terms of cushion, the midsole provides a moderate amount of cushion on this boot that protects your foot from rocks and sharp things like that, but it's firm enough that it doesn't feel squishy. The tongue is pretty comfortable, stays in place, it's fully gusseted. I do think it looks a little sloppy when it's all buttoned or all tied down. You know, the gusset doesn't really fit into the boot like it does on other boots. It just kind of out there. Performance is great. Just looks a little sloppy to me. You know, that's a personal preference, not really a big deal. So the Quest is really beefy, and I found it to have really good protection on sharp rocks. Full grain leather down here protects your forefoot from rocks. This toe cap is insane. It's gonna protect you from everything. Your advanced chassis bit here, this plastic part, is definitely gonna help, as well as this darker brown here is even more protection around the heel. So I want to talk about fit for a second, but I also want to recognize that my foot shape is going to be different from your foot shape, and what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. So take my fit assessment with a grain of salt. Definitely try them on and see if they're right for you. But I do want to touch on it briefly. I found these to run a little large, actually. I have several pair of Salomon shoes. I've tested other Salomon shoes and boots this season, and for whatever reason, this one seems to run a little large. I wear a size 13. I tested the size 13. Honestly, if I had to do it again, I'd like to try on a size 12.5 to see if that fits me a little better, because I did get a little heel slip because I found it to be a little large. I was able to correct all that with different lacing, but just something to be aware of. I have pretty wide feet, and I actually found the width of these to be much appreciated. They're a wider boot, and they definitely have a wider toe box. And toe box is all personal preference, whether you like a wide toe box or a narrow toe box. The difference being, a wide toe box allows your foot to move a little bit. You can spread your toes, and it really helps with stability. Now, a narrow toe box is going to lock your foot in place and really help with like the descent and prevent your toes from bashing into the front of the boots when you're going downhill. Again, wider toe box on these. I prefer that, so thumbs up for me. I touched on this a little before. I just want to go back over the lacing. Standard, pretty easy to lace, but I did find these corner lace hooks here to be a little hard to use if you're in a hurry. You know, not a huge deal, not too infuriating, but just something I want to put out there. Now, just one quick note. If you're finding this video at all helpful, please make sure to like and share it so more people like you can find it. So let's wrap things up. The question is, who is this boot for? What type of hiker? These boots are going to fit the bill for day hikers who are doing long, rugged hiking. I wouldn't necessarily wear these out on a flat trail, you know, for a couple mile walk because they're so burly, heavy, and warm. But this is going to be a really perfect backpacking boot. I think that's what these are designed for, and I think that is definitely the target market for this boot because of the support, because of the stability, because of the burliness. This is a backpacking boot through and through. So any backpackers out there, I strongly encourage you to check out the Salomon Quest 4 Gore-Tex boot. Now, what do I really like about it? I think this boot excels in most areas, honestly. It has great grip, great support, great stability when carrying weight. It's nice and waterproof. Everything just works really well. You know, of course, this isn't the perfect hiking boot. There's definitely some room for improvement here. I think the main issue I had with the boot is just the fit. With it being a little large and me having that heel slip, I felt the fit to just be a little sloppy, and I really had to concentrate on how I was lacing the boots to prevent my foot from sliding around. And because I have a wide foot, I don't usually have the issue of heel slip in boots, so I was a little surprised. Again, you can correct that with lacing, but that's going to be my main complaint with the Salomon Quest 04. Alright everybody, we're wrapping things up here, but if you like this review, again, please make sure to like and share it. And if you have a pair of Quest 4s and you think we got something wrong, or maybe you agree with my assessment, please let us know in the comments. It helps other hikers. We love the feedback. It helps us. Lastly, if you want to buy a pair of Quest 4s, we've added a link to purchase them in the description below. They are affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage from each purchase, but it doesn't cost you anything, but it does help the channel. If you like this review, you definitely want to check out these reviews as well. That's it. We'll see you next time. Happy hiking.